The Shawshank Redemption is a movie about hope. It's the very last word in the film and is used multiple times throughout. It's about persistence and patience and a character who embodies those things so wholly that his actions change lives. The director, Frank Darabont's movie, was released in 1994 to, how can we put this kindly, a muted response. Its initial gross of $18 million couldn't even cover the cost of its production, and while a handful of Oscar nominations breathed some life into the movie's performance, it's fair to say that it was deemed to be a box office failure. The Titanic and Avatar this was not. It's about the best example of a movie's box office success being in no way an indication of its actual quality, because The Shawshank Redemption, like many popular movies based on Stephen King stories, is an absolute masterpiece. King himself considers it to be one of his favourite film adaptations, and rightly so. It's the kind of film you just don't see often these days, one that looks immaculate but has an emotionally resonant script to back it up, one with fantastic pacing, acting and music, and one that will stay with you long after you've finished watching it. It tells the story of a banker called Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins, who's wrongly sent to prison for the murder of his wife and her lover after finding out about the affair. After a harsh introduction to prison life in which he struggles to survive, Andy starts to make friends inside, including the tired and weary Red, serving life for murder, and later a young firecracker called Tommy with a family outside and a wish to escape his life of crime. Soon, Andy's bookkeeping skills come to the attention of the prison warden, who uses him to circumvent the law and make money of his own. But when Andy and the warden start to clash over the warden's dodgy dealings, Andy's life inside starts to take a downward turn. Will he be able to survive the harshness of his prison life, or will a lack of hope end him, as it has so many before? A movie, like all stories, is only as good as its hero and villains, and The Shawshank Redemption excels with both. Andy Dufresne and Warden Norton don't quite have the same ring as Batman and the Joker, or Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, but thematically their battle is just as serious. There are a few different kinds of heroes in storytelling. Andy Dufresne is most definitely what we'd call a catalyst hero. It's what he does to the people around him that's important, not the changes he undergoes himself. Catalyst heroes are like matches, sparking fires in others. Andy believes in people even when they don't believe in themselves. The prison is a different place once he's been there, and this is always heartwarming to watch for an audience. It's the same reason we love watching Forrest Gump blunder his way through history. But Andy's influence in The Shawshank Redemption is particularly poignant because of the villains that surround him. Captain Hadley, the towering, violent main prison guard, is a terror, and after a harrowing scene at the start of the film in which he beats an inmate to death, his presence alone is enough to make your skin crawl with tension. But it's Warden Norton who's the real Joker to Andy Dufresne's Batman, a short, Napoleon-like figure who runs his prison with a menacing rigidity that is only matched by his hypocrisy when it comes to breaking the rules for himself. The warden squeezes and squeezes Andy, and when you're sitting staring agog at your screen at what he's gone through, the warden puts him through even more. Awful for our hero, of course, but incredible storytelling. And it makes the moments when Andy does manage to change the dull, dour, grey prison he finds himself in for the better all the more soul-warming. And he takes his humanity to a place that has lost it, and he wins. The movie is bursting with memorable scenes. The beers on the prison roof, the opera music blasting over the tannoy, and beware sailors, spoilers ahead, the movie Maverick apologises if you haven't seen the film, Andy's eventual escape. If a story's main job is to move its viewer, to make them feel something for the made-up characters on screen, The Shawshank Redemption is about as good as it gets. The list of actors who nearly starred in this film is as long as the production timeline of James Cameron's Avatar films. Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Gene Hackman, Jeff Bridges, Tom Hanks, Kevin Costner, Nicolas Cage, Johnny Depp. You'll be able to do a reenactment soon in a retirement home. But the two lead actors who got the gigs were the right picks. Tim Robbins is so you and me everyman that it's a constant reminder to the viewer of how easily they could fall into his position themselves. But Morgan Freeman is the star turn here, as his Best Actor Oscar nomination attests. I'm sure some will argue, I can see you there, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves fans, but for me this is Freeman's best performance. He's magnificent in the film, from the Goodfellas-inspired voiceover that holds the different threads of the movie together, to all the scenes of his character's world-weary warmth. Red has a moral code, he's an honest man, the only one in prison to admit to his crime, and in a very real way The Shawshank Redemption is really his story. It's Red that Andy has to convince to hold on to hope. Take Freeman away and this battle is only a quarter as effective. It's telling that the actor has said this is the best of his films. I'm not even going to bother listing negatives for The Shawshank Redemption. I could find a few, of course. All films have weak points, but any here are swamped by the positives. The cinematography by Roger Deakins, probably the best out there to my eyes, is brilliant. The music is ominous and sweeping at the right times and always memorable. Just hearing it takes me back to the film. The script is fantastic with
Get busy living, you get busy dying.
Having wormed its way into pop culture, among other famous lines, and it has one of the best twists, might not be the right word, but it covers it well enough in cinema history. When you realise what's happened, it's joyful. Towards the end of the film, Andy's character writes a letter to Red in which he says the words, "Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things." I said at the start of this video that when The Shawshank Redemption was released, it was considered a box office failure. But that's not the end of the story. In a turn of events that can only be put down to the movie's enduring quality, it went on to become one of the highest grossing rental videos of all time. It also sits at number one on IMDb's list of top rated movies, and has done for as long as I can remember. From box office flop to number one, hope is a good thing. Anyway, nothing more to say. This is Movie Maverick, signing out.